Good afternoon and welcome to People's Voice on VOP Television, where the voices, stories and perspectives of everyday Nigerian take center stage while discussing the issues of interest to Nigerian citizens. My name is Adefunke Jaisimi, and today on People's Voice we bring you the voices of the people affected by the recent attacks in Benue State, where over 200 lives were brutally taken. The cries of the locals echo through the land, a desperate plea for peace and security. In response to this escalating violence, the President of the Federal Republic, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has cancelled his initial trip to Kaduna State to visit Benue State instead. During his visit, he plans to meet with stakeholders, including traditional rulers, community leaders, and youth groups to seek lasting solutions to the recurring crisis in the land. The president's visit is part of renewed efforts to foster peace and address the persistent conflict affecting communities within the state. However, on the spot, the former Senator David Mark warns that residents within the communities in Benue State might be forced to defend themselves if authorities fail to address the security crisis currently ravaging the communities. And the governor of the state earlier has said that he's also concerned about these issues. He has expressed similar concerns, stating that the state is bleeding and needs urgent support. Well, in a recent development, the Plateau State governor also hinted that his state will not be known for insurgency, emphasizing the need for collective action to maintain peace. Meanwhile, security experts and stakeholders are also calling for a more comprehensive approach to address the root causes of the conflicts in the country and the way forward. Some of the solutions that has been proffered so far include dialogue and mediation. It's been said that engaging local communities, that the elders, farmers in dialogue might be able to resolve disputes peacefully. But how far can this go because of the current situation at hand? There's also the part of community-led initiatives, where it's been said that reporting community-led projects that promote peace building and conflict resolution might also be helpful. There is also the part of reviewing security strategies to ensure effective protection of lives and properties. And yes, talk about economic support, providing economic assistance to affected communities to rebuild and recover. Let's also talk about identifying and addressing underlying issues driving the conflict, such as competition for resources and ethnic tensions. But yes, analysts have come out to say that it's actually beyond the talks around competition for resources or ethnic tension. There are external forces, while some are of the opinion that this is more of an internal problem than external one. But in all of this, as the people of Benue State continue to suffer, it is essential to find a lasting solution to this conflict, and we are hopeful that the president's visit will be a step towards understanding the situation on the ground, but more needs to be done to ensure peace and security for all in the state. We'd like you to please join the conversation by calling or text us on 090-447-32605. You can follow us on social media at VOP TV Live and tweet us using the hashtag People's Voice on VOP TV. We are on YouTube. You can subscribe on our page at Voice of the People TV. Let's make our voices heard and shape the narrative that affects every one of us. It's time to go on a quick break and come back stronger as we dissect these issues and more on People's Voice. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to People's Voice. We are discussing the recent devastating attack in Benue State, where over 200 lives were lost in the blink of an eye, leaving communities shattered and families torn apart. And as a nation, the nation is mourning, and rightly so. It's something that affects every one of us. But the issues in Benue State have deep historical roots, with some tracing the current conflict back to before the Fourth Republic. The situation in Benue State is indeed with the recent attack being described as having a sickening dimension of violence. Over 200 persons were said to have been killed in one night. And the implications of these attacks go beyond the tragic loss of lives, affecting national stability and economic development. Benue State, which has been is known as the food basket of the nation due to its fertile land and industrious people, is now facing a major crisis that is threatening its reputation and livelihood, something that it's known for. Well, many advocates have emphasized the need for solidarity with the people of Benue State during this trying period, and the condolences extended to the people of Yelawata and other affected communities highlight the importance of acknowledging the human cost of these attacks. Yes, some potential solutions have been proposed by concerned citizens and advocates, and with the president's plan to visit Benue State, we hope that this addresses the root causes of the conflict and possibly find a lasting solution to the crisis in Benue State and other states that are currently ravaged by insecurity, and to restore peace to the troubled regions in the country. But I'm not doing this alone. Joining me now in the studio is VOP's senior analyst, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Good afternoon, Mr. Fanimo, and thank you for joining the show.
Good afternoon.
Well,
can we really say good this afternoon? From what you have reeled out?
Exactly. So it's just, I think it's out of courtesy when we say good afternoon, because it's really...
But beyond that, honestly, it really rackles my brain when I listen to all these things. And since weekend, I've not been myself, because I try to take away the imagery from my consciousness, but I've not been able to do that.
It's quite difficult because it's a very, very sensitive issue. And it's funny how even politicians have chosen to politicize the sad events. Yes, it's okay to call each other out and do your thing, but it's important that we know how to balance holding governments accountable for the security of its citizens while also standing together as a nation to condemn these senseless killings. It's a very, very terrible situation. But let me ask you, what are your thoughts on this delicate balance? How can we ensure that politics doesn't overshadow the pursuit of justice and peace for the victims and families, communities, the people affected?
You see, most politicians don't reckon with the people, and for certain reasons. One, their emergence is not a function of the popularity they have within those constituents. It's a function of how deep their war chest is, to be able to dole out money and buy votes, and in some cases rig their way in. So once you go through that route, you are definitely not going to reckon with people, even when they seek your support at every point in time. Then the second thing is, when you experience something consistently and persistently over a period of time, the import of that experience will likely be lost. And that is what is happening to Nigeria now. Those days when we were growing up, if you hear, bomb blast in Afghanistan, 10 people die, you look around you and say, if it had happened in this community, so this person will not be alive today. This person will not be alive today.
Even hearing it alone, you won't be able to sleep.
You know, you shudder and say, no, God forbid, let it not happen in Nigeria. But here we are today. It's happening everywhere in Nigeria. And it has been reduced to statistics. The humanity is no longer there. Even we in the media, if you say something happened in Shomolu now, the next thing that comes to the brain of a media person is how many people died.
Right.
The number of people that dies in that process determines the leverage the story will have.
So we go with the breaking news, yes. 522 people injured.
it's such a sad development that people's deaths are viewed from statistical point of view, not from humanity point of view.
But it's unfortunate because I recall one of our shows here when I mentioned that growing up, just listening to programs like La Benue at the time, you don't even need pictorial evidence. Just listening to things happening.
You conjure the picture.
Sleep. Sometimes I remember I grew up in Surulere. Along Oshodi Papa Expressway, there are always accidents from Sele to Ijesha to Sonya. It used to be rampant. Whenever anyone comes around to say that, oh, on my way coming from work, there's a dead body on the side of the road, there is the kind of calmness within the area. Everybody tends to enter their room earlier. Everybody is concerned. Everybody is worried. But right now, people die. Not one person, not two people. I mean, even one life matters. And all we go about doing is we are not even showing empathy now. It's about opposition scoring points.
So what that tells you, I'm just giving you a background to how we got here. Media has not even helped matters. Then the politicians, do you know that in some quarters, this may be a conspiracy theory, I've not really found out, that some governors even enjoy it when there is crisis in their domain, because their security vote would increase.
To what end?
You see, when you are dead to humanity, the bestial nature of animal, the animalistic tendencies in you, the latent animalistic tendencies would come up. And then you now begin to see, there is a Yoruba saying that ẹja ni ẹja ń fi sanra.
Yeah,
that the bigger fish eats the smaller fish to be healthy and grow. And that is the mantra of the average politician today in Nigeria. They believe that the more people die, the more they make money.
Because how will anybody at this point say, oh, Peter Obi wanted to visit your state, you told him not to come, and now this is it? I mean, at a time where families are mourning.
You see, when I watched the video of VDM, I couldn't go the whole hog. I now began to picture my sibling, people who are close to me. How would I have felt if I see kids, harmless kids, between 3, 6, 8, and 9, or 10, being slaughtered? Defenseless kids, innocent kids. To what end? Then I listen to somebody saying that it's a communal clash. Some people, I'm sorry to use this word, but I'm compared to use it.
Mindful with your choice of word.
No. You see, when it gets to a point, you want to say it as it is. Mindless people locating a national crisis within the premises of a locality. What do you call a communal clash? Before you consider a communal clash, there would have been an event in the past. Maybe somebody has encroached on another person's land, and the community feels that, look, we have to support this person and make sure that he reclaims his land. And then when you have communal clash, you know that if community A is fighting with community B, the moment they attack community B, they return to community A. If community B wants to have a reprisal attack, they attack community A. Look at Modakeke and Ife crisis. Everybody knew that this was a communal clash. Those days, I was a reporter. I went to Modakeke and Ife to report. Then my friend, who is now AIG, was area commander. He gave me police cover. And I went there. And they were saying, journalists, don't worry, we don't have any problem with you. No, you don't even need policemen. I hope you are not from Ife. When I went to Modakeke, and when I got to Ife, they were asking me, are you not a spy from Modakeke? You know? And I was declaring to them, I was speaking my local dialect, which also gave them assurance. You will see the warring factions. But these are people that will come to a whole community, kill, rape, maim, burn down property, and then they retreat to nowhere. So how would you identify that person as fighting a communal war?
I understand your point, Mr. Fanimo, but don't you think that there's a point that something you might term as likely gets out of hand, then there are external forces now leveraging on the situation?
Look, at a point when the Modaike, if a crisis was on, the Ife communities were using mercenaries. And we saw some of them. But you don't have to go far before you know that, because they have a place to return to in Ife. And they report back to their sponsors. But these people, nobody, not a single person, have been able to apprehend one person and locate the identity of that person within a community in Benue State.
Isn't that suspicious to you?
It shows that there was not a communal clash. And these communities, have they protested that we are fighting with, it is likely that community B is fighting us because we are fighting over boundary disputes. What precipitates communal clash? Boundary disputes.
Right.
Attack on a community by another community. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it could even start
maybe
with
one of their community person lost their life in your community and they feel like, oh, they came for us, we have to attack and all
exactly.
of that.
But this, nobody has given us that narrative. So how will the security man now begin to locate within the presence of community clash? It's sickening.
Okay, let's talk about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the proposed visit tomorrow. How do you think the president's visit will ensure safety and security of the affected communities, and what measures will be taken to prevent future attack?
One, that visit is belated, I must say. Two,
when should have been the right time?
The right time would have been the president marching the CDS and the army chief to Benue. Right there and then follow it up with a visit the following morning.
So nothing
and
like
make
intelligence,
declarative.
no intelligence needed to be done, nothing like that. It was just imperative for him to just walk into the situation.
The chief of army staff was already on ground before this attack came.
It was on ground before the attack came, but
and who else would have coordinated?
Yesterday,
who else would have coordinated Reiki?
Yesterday,
or Intel?
My guest, who is a security expert and from Benue State, also said that it wasn't fully in Benue State, that he had at some point visited Abuja, but we should leave it at that.
Look, I wish I could be on set with that so-called security expert. I would have asked him some salient questions. I did a course in conflict and peace.
Yeah, he also has a doctorate in that same conflict and peace.
You understand?
Studies, yeah.
And I understand how it happens. So when I talk here, I don't just talk for the sake of talking. I'm talking relying on what I know. You see?
Okay, so if you say that you know
listen,
that it was on ground, and the people that live within the same state say that it wasn't 100% on ground.
What I'm saying is,
I mean, it's all speculation.
As a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be physically.
Yeah, he stated it categorically that he can even operate from anywhere. He
That's what I'm
doesn't need
saying.
to be there physically.
Listen, when the military is regimented, it's not like civil authority that everybody will just go his own way and then you go and then somebody will ask you, hey, so what is your report on this? No. The military is coordinated and power drops from the top to the bottom. Now, there is a brigade commander in Benue who is in the rank of a brigadier general.
Right.
And that brigadier general is also subject to a GOC that covers Benue. And then under the brigade commander, you have commanding officers who are usually either colonel or lieutenant colonels manning the various barracks as units.
Right.
Now, under the jurisdiction of these commanders, the COs, commanding officers, you have troops led, according to platoon, led by either a captain or a lieutenant. Can you see the structure?
Right.
Now, the chief of army staff is just the executive coordinating officer. Reports come from these units and pass through the line and the chain of authority from the CEO to the brigade commander, from brigade commander to the GOC, from GOC to chief of army staff. In some cases, director of plans and doctrine, you have it. Now, those on ground are the CEOs. They are the ones to collate intelligence from the field officers, the captains, the lieutenants, the majors.
So if you say that
now,
the president's visit is related, don't you think that there was some intelligence report that must have informed the decision to even wait till this time?
Assailants don't strike and wait. Assailants, yes, you might excuse them because most of these attacks are not within the city centers. They are in the village, far-flung villages.
But this is coming close. This is close
no,
to Makurdi
what I'm saying,
for the first time.
What I'm saying is, most of the time, they would have attacked and retreated before reinforcement will come. And in some of these communities, they don't have communication opportunities to make calls and all that.
Wow.
So, but what we are saying is, the moment there is a contact established with the CEO, he will draft his troops. Not that the troops expect to meet them. Because most of these killings will not take more than 2 hours maximum. Because they are also afraid for their lives.
Mr. Fanimo, 2 hours. 2 hours
I am telling you.
2 hours is a long time.
You don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, what if the terrain and the roads are not too good for cars, that you have to roll up trucks? And from the barracks to that particular area where the incident is taking place will take about 1.5 hours. And information didn't get to them until about 1 hour after these people had started attacking.
Because from the eyewitness reports, he said the police tried to counter them, and there came another group from a totally different angle. So is it that there was no connection or there was no communication between that arm of the military to the army? I mean, the police barracks to the barracks, yes. Now,
the point is, the police does not have direct influence on the soldiers. Instruction has to come from the CEO, who will draft his troops. And in some cases, because of the delicate nature of that kind of assignment, he will want to get approval from his brigade commander or the GOC. And if it's a complex thing, the GOC will want approval from the COAS. And if it's more complex, the COAS, that is Chief of Army Staff, will have to get approval from the CDS and National Security Advisor.
When people's lives were.
You see, the same we that are talking about this thing will be the ones to condemn them if they take hasty decision and they end up killing the locals.
We need to understand these things because I brought up...
Do you know that it's difficult for the regular army to fight a ragtag army? Because the regular army will be in uniform.
Mr. Fanimo, I talked about what the president's visit would do. You were explaining the fact that it is belated and you were citing some situations.
This thing happened on Saturday.
And this also led us to this conversation now. In a state that is already known for this crisis, it didn't start. So much that the COAS had to relocate to the state. So how much of work has been done ahead to prepare for situations like this? What was the essence of that relocation if there was no need for immediate response to situations?
What I'm telling you, between when I'm not holding brief for the military, but I'm telling you that I can imagine the situation on ground. You understand? Between when these people came to attack and when information got to them, you can't tell here as we are seated. You don't know. What I'm saying is, what the military should have done is to, at least there will be about 5-6 survivors from that village.
Yeah.
Once they come into that community, all they need to find out from these survivors is what type of arms are they bearing? Are they in military fatigue? How did they come? Is it on motorbikes? Is it on foot? When they gather all this information, which route did they come from? And when they were retreating, which route? Then you follow the lead and you now find out. You see, it is better to take the enemy by surprise in his own den than chasing him or her. What we are saying here is what the president needed to do to give support and hope to Benue people was to have relocated the following day, even if it is the government house, and say, look, enough is enough, with his red eye, and tell the COAs, these people must be brought to book, and I want results in the next 48 hours. There is a way you tell a man as a woman that, no, I don't want it, that the man will retreat. But there's another way you say no, that the man will be encouraged. And there's another way you say no, the man knows you mean yes. The political will is not there. That's why, you see, these people, when you catch a criminal, I've been involved in interrogating criminals in the past. The moment you catch a criminal, disorient him, don't ask questions from him, keep him in a place where he will not interact with anybody for 48 hours. By the time you bring him out, he will talk. Because psychologically, he is no longer balanced. So anything you ask, he will say it. What we are saying is, let the president, you think somebody will do this kind of thing in America, and a Trump will wait for 3 days before even telling the world that I will be coming tomorrow to visit. It doesn't happen. The president will relocate the National Guard and he will be there in less than 24 hours and give a standing warning.
Acknowledging the incident was...
And he will even stay back in that state. 200 people. And you know, you and I, we are in the media. For the authorities to declare that 200 people died, be sure that 1,000 had died.
As a matter of fact, until those videos came out and they were able to even literally count from house to house, it was initially said, oh, over 50, then later it became over 100, to the governor
so now
acknowledging 151 and all. But
so if somebody just within a community, you have succeeded in wiping out that community, you have succeeded in wiping out a generation, and then a president will take kindly to it.
Let's talk about the president. We need to dwell on this conversation. Visiting tomorrow, what concrete action will the president take to address the humanitarian needs?
It's not going to address those communities. They are going to bring representatives.
Conflict. Yes, of course there will be representatives.
You know, and are you sure that those representatives are not state managed?
So that is the painful part of it, because I recall when the COS was going to relocate, it was being said that there were going to be meetings with stakeholders and community, the locals, just so they can understand the terrain and how things work in those situations. That's the intelligence I was talking about earlier.
That's not intelligence. That's showmanship.
Is there no level of interaction or communication at all? Okay, since this thing has been done, what exactly is different from the experience the people had till that very instance? The president will visit tomorrow. Will the president's visit lead to a meaningful dialogue and reconciliation between the different groups involved in the conflict? Because there is the projection of a communal conflict, which the majority of people are saying that this is beyond it.
That security expert that came, was he able to locate any communal clash between communities in that state?
We didn't see any.
That is it.
He obviously said it wasn't that. That was not the situation.
I told you there's nothing like communal clash.
The That's what I'm
How can
asking.
you be fighting
So
somebody that you don't know?
So if some of the things proposed is for the government, the president to come and do some reconciliation and dialogue between who and who?
You see the herdsman, the military arm of herdsmen that are stationed permanently in the place, that all you need to do is just tell them that these people are giving us problems,
but what do you
and they will be drafted.
of the people that are of the opinion that this thing has been on for the longest time, saying that it dated back even before the Fourth Republic? What do you think is the root cause of this unending crisis in Benue State?
Now, let me trace it, if you allow me to trace the history.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, the beginning of decimation of the Middle Belt, comprising part of Kogi, part of Nasarawa, Benue, Plateau, and Niger, started in the military era. Check out the coups that failed between 1976 when Dimka struck, Gideon Oka, Mamamvasta. Where are these people from? Middle Belt. And they took along with them Middle Belters, both in non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers. The likes of Gunwork, the likes of Cheleng, and the likes, many of them were killed. Some were retired. That was the beginning. And Obasanjo made it very clear when he was president, when that riot broke out in Kano, to make sure that these Benue people that have been used and dumped over the years as minority northerner are not truly northerner, except when they are going to be used for political reasons. He made sure that corpses of those that were killed during that period from Benue, Plateau, Kogi was not created at that time, were returned to their states, which effectively, psychologically gave them that notion. That's why they call themselves Middle Belts. Before then, they see themselves as North, part of the North. Now, look at what El-Rufai did to Southern Kaduna. Let's forget about all these pretense. We don't have to lie to ourselves. I'm not afraid of saying the truth. If I die today, I'm old enough to die. That's the truth. Now, when the governors come, they suck them in. And those who are not ready to be sucked in, they unleash people.
Suck them into what?
Into this agenda. The ultimate agenda is to rewrite the history of the Middle Belt at a point that other people will reside in that place and you start having emir.
Oh.
Now, furtherance to this, because of the rapacious inclination of some of these politicians who never saw beyond their nose, because greed and wisdom don't cohabit. The moment you are greedy, you cannot be wise because you'll be too narrow-minded. Most of these governors, all they wanted was to have their pictures in the government house. I was once a ruler here, not a leader. So every template given to them, they approve. Just the same way Fubara approved everything Wike gave to him to sign. Now, to weaken the base of Benue and Plateau, particularly, 75% of soldiers, I lived in the barracks, I grew up in the barracks, I know what I'm talking about. 75% of soldiers that you see they call northerners are basically from Benue and Plateau.
Middle Belt.
Middle Belts. That's why you see these marks.
Yeah, around here.
My father was paymaster, so then they were paying by hand. So I saw a lot of them. They are the ones that you see in the barracks then as RSM, which is the last point, warrant officer. Now, what they did was, those people had retired. to their communities. But they still have their skills. And some of them became hunters. They have their guns. But what did they do? They came up with that law that apart from being gun, you cannot own any rifle. They mop up all the arms in those villages and communities, leaving them vulnerable to attack. You think if those soldiers still have guns with them, you think they will go scot-free? Why is it that up till now, nobody has recovered any corpse that belongs to those who have come to attack? Because they are defenseless. That's why former chief of staff in this country, chief of army staff in this country, who is in his late 80s now, General Theophilus Danjuma, said, and is from Taraba, he said, let us protect ourselves by having arms. You think if all those soldiers that are retired, even at their old age, if they have just double barrel guns, they will need to have brought down at least 5 of these assailants that they will show, and people will identify them if they belong to any community apart from that community that they have come to attack.
Mr. Fanimo, there was a Gakem crisis, I think around 1999, where it was said that some military personnel were killed, and I think it was under Obasanjo's tenure, and there was a reprisal attack where they killed over 100 civilians. They said there was an issue between the military and the...
OD, are you talking about OD?
OD, in Benue State.
In Benue State, where we have a Sakibiam.
I think so.
Sakibiam.
Gakem community.
Where you have problem, they have problem with Zamani Lekwot, who was a military major general, who retired as a major general in the military. You see, this is what we are saying.
Are these cases is it intertwined? Are they related? Why the constant crisis?
They are not related. That one had come and gone. They are not related at all. What we are talking about is
just needed clarity on it, because some people
the
actually
resurgency of those people, and this is located in the fact that with the climate change, desert encroachment has started driving away these nomads that were, some of them were recruited from Mali, Sudan, to come and chase Jonathan away. And when they chased Jonathan away, they couldn't pay them their agreed sum.
Is that even real?
It was real. And then the first law of nature is self-preservation. Let me give you an example. Get a dog, and you are not able to feed that dog after a while, and you throw the dog to the street. Won't the dog find its way?
Of course, even within the compound, before you throw the dog out, one day the dog will find a way. But let's still talk about the people. You have said that the president's visit will not have direct impact on the victims.
Because it's going to be ceremonial. He will not go to that particular site. So
how will his visit then impact the ongoing security operation in the region? Because if it's not going to lead to
you are isolating Benue.
If it's not going to... I mean within Benue State, because if it will not lead to any shift in strategy or approach, then what is the essence of waiting for over 72 hours?
The president is going there to say, I sympathize with you.
We're tired of that statement.
I commiserate with you, but what are the concrete steps? Maybe they will get palliatives. Now, if the focus becomes too concentrated on Benue, Plateau is there. Those guys can shift base to begin to attack Plateau. So the president will run to Plateau again, and then if they come to Niger, he will still run to Niger. Is it not better for us to have a holistic approach to this thing?
Some people have been calling for a state of emergency in Benue State. Do you share their thoughts?
State of emergency. And what would that bring to us? Do you need a state of emergency before you direct the military to rout these people?
So what's holding them?
The military junta in Niger Republic changed out within 48 hours the likes of Toji, who is now a big boy in Nigeria, that is being paid from taxpayers' money by some governors, just to let peace reign. And these are young guys. What is the volume of GDP of Niger? Those guys came and said, no, enough is enough. Toji ran out of Niger without picking his family. Now, he's now enjoying himself in Zamfara. A Gumi will go to him, hold meeting with him in the full glare of the camera, and then our soldiers will be behind Gumi. Is he a state actor?
What exactly?
And Tuji will be seated beside him, and they will be smiling. Tuji's ragtag area boys will be behind him. And the soldiers will walk away without taking Tuji along with them.
So what exactly is the problem? What is the president?
I said there is no political will.
What is the president supposed to do, or what is he supposed to be doing?
Look.
Because you cannot continue
there is a way, like,
to compromise.
I just told you one thing. Sit down. Let's talk. It's different from, how do you negotiate with a blackmailer? He will keep coming. The more you give in, the more he keeps coming.
Blackmailer.
You take him out. That's the solution to blackmailing. Take him out. In this case, they are romancing these people. Even we have seen a former head of state, who is supposed to be ruling over this country, who fought Matasine. And when Shagari told him to withdraw, he refused. Chased them to the hinterland of Niger and routed them. He came back to become head of state as a military man, also civilian president for 8 years. When he was running up and down to contest to become president, I was live. I was covering State House in Oyo State, Ibadan, when he came to with Marwa, the current NDLA chairman, and Ahmed Joda. They led the delegation. 1 hour to their arrival in Agodi, everybody ran a tasketa. They took over the whole secretariat. And when it was time for him to talk, he said, you are sitting here. He was addressing Lam as the governor. He said, you are sitting here and your people are killing my people. So, do you need any crystal ball to know what is going on? And recently, he also said, and some of the other people said, look, an attack on Boko Haram is an attack on our people. So why would those people not be emboldened to strike?
So who then speaks on behalf of the helpless citizens? How do we raise the voices of the tired citizens? We saw a video of a woman that lost her children, her mother, five members of her families, and you know, it was beyond tears for her. So who begins to speak for the other parts of the country?
You see, the point is, the media has a role to play.
We're trying.
We're not doing enough. Should it take a VDM who is not a journalist to go to Benue and do what he did for the whole world to now realize the enormity of what has happened? How many media houses in Nigeria do we have? None could go. I went to Madagascar at the heat of that crisis. And we saw so many things that we came back to report. We are not doing anything now in the media. We rely on press releases, according to the spokesperson of the Minister of State for Education. That's what we do. We rely on News Agency of Nigeria to get our stories.
That's more like a stray bullet hitting me right
It is
now.
Not a stray bullet, it's a direct bullet. We are supposed to be voice of the voiceless.
Mr. Fanibo would do better, but what role will local stakeholders, including community leaders and traditional leaders,
you see, if you don't put government on its toes,
okay.
If you don't put government on its toes, we're not getting anywhere
Mr.
in this
Fanibo,
issue of
you've
insecurity.
said that the president is not going to address the direct victims. How can local stakeholders, including community leaders, traditional rulers, what role can they play in ensuring that the president's visit and subsequent response from him actually gets to the common man?
You see, the president's visit it's not going to make much of impact. The point is, he needs to give stern instructions to his service chiefs.
But he has been given instruction on the cover papers.
I said stern instruction. I just gave you a scenario a while ago.
Okay, let me take that as it is.
There are 3 sets of no you get from a woman.
No, don't worry, don't go back there. don't go back to that. But really, it's quite unfortunate because the hope for the common man is the fact that we believe that we're entrusting our lives, our properties into the hands of whoever we elect into office. People are emphasizing and focusing on the president, the state governor. There's been a lot of dragging right, left, and